We tend to dissect the journey of being trans by people who didn't write those stories.
There are lots of scripts and shows and things being developed about trans characters by creative teams who do not include trans people. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because it has to start, like the stories need to be told, and the people who are in the rooms already and able to have those conversations oftentimes are cis. So it's wonderful to have, we need allies. There's not enough trans people to be able to, fight the entire industry. So we need to have allies who are there and interested in the stories. The problems come in when actors become more than actors in the process. So when actors become consultants and things in the process without receiving pay, or if the actor becomes the consultant. And so the reality is sometimes you get actors. I'm someone that, like, if I'm in a show and I really stand behind the show and I love the show, I'm so happy to have a conversation about things. I'm so happy to talk about it, because I want to be able to be an active part of making sure that the story is being told well. But also knowing that, like, I'm not the only trans voice, and there are lots of other experiences and voices and backgrounds. We all have blind spots. I think that I'm very open to a lot of things, but there are things that, like, I feel that I know are super controversial and, like, wouldn't necessarily be, would not necessarily be, cheered on by certain kinds of trans people that are out here. So, like, that, but it's not my responsibility to worry about everybody else. It's like, I have to go with myself and what I know and believe and feel is truthful. So if I'm talking to a creative team about certain things, I can speak for myself and I can speak for the demographics of people who I understand around me, but I should not be the only voice, and no actor should be. And there are lots of people who are, gender consultants and things who work with creative teams now. And quite frankly, even they have blind spots. So it's like you have to do your research. You have to do your research. If you're going to tell a story about a group of people that you aren't a part of, then you have to do your research so that you know that this story is being told in the most effective way that's possible, and not just about, it can't be just about the bottom dollar. I'm not one for policing anybody's voice. I think that there is room for Ryan Murphy in the stories that he tells. There is room for all these people that get slack and get lifted. I think there's room for all these stories. The thing is, when you're telling stories about marginalized groups, there's an extra layer of importance that's put on top of those stories so that they are told right, so that they can continue to be told. Ryan Murphy seems to have a brand of glamorizing things. And while, like, look, I would love to be on a glamorized show. I would love to be on a Ryan Murphy show. But I think that, because if nothing else, you're going to look fantastic on them. But I think that I would love to see someone take the reins of telling some of those stories, and instead of glamorizing, showing, like, just the cold hard truth of what this situation is. And, like, that might not be as flashy, and that's okay, but there's room for both. And if you're going to do glamorize, then, like, full tilt, go all the way, and, like, really, like, make sure that world is built in a way that the foundation is solid, and the people that you're working with really know what they're doing, and have the ability to tell this story in a way that not just, the people who are in the room with you will understand. And I want to go on the ride.
And I started to think a bit about, like, that conversation, because I've seen Pose. I grew up on Glee in high school, and I just watched Hollywood. It gets the happy ending that it deserves, and I don't think that's fair or just to make a fairy tale about people's real issues in their industry.
It's so tricky. It's tricky because, like, I see the why he would want to do that, and I think it's exciting and it's beautiful and it's emotional, but at the same time, if he had shown the cold hard truth of what that world was, I don't know that people would be celebrating the show as much. So it becomes, what are your stakes for, like, what do you want after Hollywood? Do you want to do a season 2 of this? Or do you want to, like, cut it here? Because I feel like if he had been really blunt and straightforward, there would have been a lot of people that would have had problems with that too. There would have been a camp of people going, we always see this. Why do we need to keep seeing this? This tears us down. The problem is we're still experiencing this. It's not,
Yeah.
it's just on a different level now. Like, it's in a different way. So why not flash forward and show the present and see and show someone having that same problem here? And you wouldn't do that because I think at the end of the day, a lot of Hollywood, at least from what I could see, I've said to someone, I feel like Hollywood's voice was the last like couple minutes of the story were who that story was for. It was two white gay men. And I feel like at the end of the day, that's kind of who that story felt like it was being told sort of to cater to. All these other things were it's, you know, there were smidgelings of other things throughout the story, but like the women had no autonomy. Like the black girl in the show, if it's about her being a star, she had no autonomy. We didn't even know who she was for most of the whole series. We didn't know how she actually felt because everyone else was sort of talking around her. And if that's the case, give her that moment where, or I would love to have seen that moment when she says, I'm sick of everybody talking for me. Because if I'm in a room and I'm feeling like everything's coming around me, at some point I'm going to go, I'm sorry, I just feel like I don't ever have a voice here. Is that how this is supposed to be? Am I just not supposed to have a voice at all and everyone's running my life for me and men are all around me planning?
Yeah. But to defend that act, like, it is just,
I mean, it's
the
true
stakes are,
in many ways.
they feel really high also. Like when you're in the storm of like a mogul, like a Tyler Perry.
He does soap opera really well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry. The difference is that Ryan has a writer's room.
That's true.
So there are people there that Ryan can say, these are the ideas, go, or he can participate, or he can write, but there is some form of collaboration, whereas Tyler has made it very public that he doesn't need a writer's room because he knows what his audience wants. And like, what am I going to say? Like, I mean, I feel like from the actress standpoint, it becomes, well, then you are aware of what you're walking into when you do his projects, or if you want to be a part of those projects, you know what you're walking into. But it says a lot that, I mean, and he does know what his audience wants because they continue to support him. He keeps getting more and more shows. It's like, but that's why I have to feel like there is space for lots of voices. It's a pain, and when you don't get to see voices like Michael Jackson or voices like you know Raja Feather Kelly popping out of the mix. Like, you want to see these newer voices, these people that have been sitting around not being seen, so have lots of things to say.
Yeah, you caught my segue. Let's talk about A Strange Loop. The first time I saw A Strange Loop, I saw it in previews. I was like 100 pounds heavier at the time, and I hadn't seen a play that didn't glamorize the experience of being fat and showed the truth of being sort of disenfranchised in an industry that you constantly have to box yourself in. And I'm not going to say that I related to it any more than that, because A Strange Loop is a lot more than just about being fat. And so that's all I'm going to say about how I connected to it. But I got to say that I just haven't felt connected to a piece of theater in that way before, and I would only expect it from an organization like Playwrights Horizons to elevate a voice like Michael's.